Although Lord Roose Bolton and his bastard son Ramsay were both killed off in Season 6 on HBO's hit series Game of Thrones, just take a look at any fan site and you'll find that the spirit of the Dreadfort is still strong among fans of House Bolton. After all, both Roose and Ramsay are still alive and well in George R.R. Martin's books, and as of A Dance with Dragons, they are still in a very strong position as they hold Winterfell against Stannis' advancing army. While houses with long and noble histories have been snuffed out in an instant before, House Bolton's history is longer, bloodier, and more cunning than most. We've compiled some of that bloody history here for you, some of which might be a surprise to even the most devoted Flayed Man fanatics. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and also click on the notification bell to remain updated. If you're a show-only Game of Thrones fan, you may be wondering what the Night King has to do with the Boltons. Well, nothing, actually. While the leader of the White Walkers is a character invented for the show, there is a character from the world invented by George R.R. Martin called the Night's King, and he may have quite a bit to do with House Bolton. According to Westerosi legends, thousands of years ago, not long after the wall was first built, the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch fell from grace after he was seduced by a woman with skin as white as the moon and eyes like blue stars. He abandoned his command and the Night's Watch oaths, laying with her and giving her his seed and his soul, even though her skin was cold as ice. Her description sounds eerily similar to the White Walkers, even though we have seen no other evidence that female others exist. This former Lord Commander brought her back to the Night Fort, where they ruled together as the Night's King and his corpse queen for 13 years. During that time, they committed horrible acts of murder, cannibalism, and even sacrificed peasants and men of the Night's Watch to the White Walkers. Finally, Jormund, King Beyond the Wall, and Brandon, the Breaker, Stark, King of Winter, joined forces to cast down the Night's King and retake the Night Fort. Although his birth name was removed from all the records, there are many in the North who claim the Night's King was originally a Bolton. Although actor Michael McElhatton did an excellent job portraying Lord Roose Bolton's personality on the show, he doesn't much resemble the book character, which might make this a little hard to swallow for show-only fans. In the books, Roose has pale and pallid skin, an ageless face that is smooth and completely wrinkle-free, and a hairless body and face. His eyes are as pale as chips of ice, like two white moons. Roose also has several eccentric personality quirks, like his whispery voice, fondness for rare meat, and his habit of having leeches applied to his body to purge himself of bad blood. These peculiarities have led some fans to believe that Roose may actually be an immortal being akin to a vampire or a White Walker, perhaps even the child of the Night's King and his corpse bride. The theory claims that House Bolton's fondness for flaying their enemies supports this theory, by using skinning in a ritual similar to the methods of the Faceless Men. Allegedly, the current Lord Bolton has actually been alive for 1,000 years or more, periodically shedding his skin to avoid suspicion, taking up a new identity by flaying and stealing the skin of one of his adult descendants. This could explain why Roose acknowledged his bastard Ramsay. He has the same eye color, which makes him a good potential replacement skin in the future. Ramsay is now the only potential replacement identity available, which could be why Roose puts up with his sociopathic antics and works to have him legitimized by Tommen, so there will be no issue with Ramsay inheriting the Dreadfort after Roose finally dies. When Ramsay Snow sacked and burned Winterfell in a clash of kings, it was a shocking moment that seemed to make no real strategic sense. It seems even Ramsay wasn't willing to own the decision to burn the fortress, because he later told his father that the castle's destruction had happened at the hands of the Ironborn. But in all actuality, Roose might not have objected too strongly if Ramsay had admitted doing the deed. Ramsay was just following in the footsteps of past Bolton lords. Ramsay's sack of Winterfell was not the first time the castle had been burned. In fact, we know from the books that Winterfell has been burned at least 3 times before, twice at the hands of the Boltons. Long before Aegon the Conqueror forged the 7 kingdoms into one, and even before the Undulls left Essos to invade the western continent, the Starks and the Boltons ruled as kings of their own realms in the north. And for most of their recorded history, the Starks and the Boltons were mortal enemies. King Royce II was the first Bolton we know of who burned Winterfell to the ground, and more than 300 years later, his namesake Royce IV did it again. It's very possible there have been even more Bolton burnings that have gone unrecorded. Both Royce II and Royce IV lived before the Undull invasion, which happened some 4,000 years ago. The oldest part of today's Winterfell, except the crypts, is the abandoned First Keep, where Bran spied on Jaime and Cersei, which was built some time after the Undulls invaded. The Boltons, like the Starks, used to be kings in their own right. They ruled a huge section of the north, stretching eastward from what is now Manderley Land, all the way to the last river, now ruled by the Umbers. In those days, the Boltons styled themselves as the Red Kings, and they held a bloody sway over the area from the Dreadfort. The Boltons were known for flaying their enemies alive. They took a flayed man for their sigil, and were said to have a secret room beneath the Dreadfort, which held the skins of their most prominent victims. King Royce IV Bolton even had the nickname Red Arm, because he frequently tore out the entrails of his prisoners with his bare hands. No doubt many Stark kings and lordlings died a horrible death within the Dreadfort, and many Stark skins ended up worn as cloaks or carried as banners by the Red Kings. The Bolton rule as Red Kings came to an end when the Undulls invaded. The last true Bolton king, Rogan, knew he could not face the Undulls alone and so bent the knee, sending his sons to the Starks as hostages and giving up his crown. The Boltons have rebelled against the Starks many times since then. Their most recent rebellion was put down around 1,000 years ago, and it may have been young Carlin Stark that ended it. As a reward, Carlin was later given former Bolton lands to establish his own seat, called Carhold, and his descendants took the name Karstark. You're undoubtedly familiar with the events surrounding Ramsay Bolton's horrific wedding night to Sansa Stark on the show, Jane Poole impersonating Arya Stark in the books. Roose told Domeric not to, but Domeric wouldn't listen, and he eventually found Ramsay at the mill where he lived with his mother. Shortly after meeting his bastard brother, Domeric fell ill and died of the sickness of the bowels, but Roose later confides to Theon Greyjoy that he believes Ramsay poisoned Domeric to eliminate him as a rival. With no other heirs remaining to him, Roose was forced to bring Ramsay to the Dreadfort and formally acknowledge him as his son. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and drop comments. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything.